right, hey now, it's the Rob from 106.1.
Rob, wait.
What?
This is post to post. We got to do something big, something out there.
What were you thinking?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Town Square Media and 106.1 KISS FM proudly bring to you your podcast champions of the world. He's the R to the O to the B. I'm STEVE. We are your hosts with the most, bringing you everything wrestling related from post to post.
The Rob from 106.1 KISS FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting.
Hey guys, it's me, Steve, web contributor to 1061 evansville.com.
And this is a segment we've been looking forward to for quite a while now.
Yes.
Let us introduce our guest today. This is Micas Harris. Micas, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm fortunate enough to be here, man.
Yeah, great to have you. Thank you for coming in.
I'm over here with the tag team champs. I mean, the celebrities of Evansville, the iconic KISS FM.
Well, you are an Evansville native, correct?
I am an Evansville native. I was born and raised.
Do you listen to KISS FM?
I do listen to KISS FM. I listen to KISS FM more than anything else.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
No, we appreciate that.
Let's tell everybody why you're here. So, Micas is a wrestler. And we've had local wrestlers on before, but you have an incredible career going on. You just got back from the WWE Performance Center in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about this. Now, first of all, I have some questions before we kind of get things started. Yeah. You are an Evansville native, correct?
Yes.
So you grew up here in Evansville?
Yes.
What's your alma mater? Or do you not? Are you trying to not? Like your high school?
You're a bossy bulldog, aren't you?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
No, it's just bossy, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I was ashamed to say that, really. I knew what you meant. I was just trying to...
No,
I'm just kidding, dude. No, I went to Bossy High School, man. Bossy. Graduated in 2006. Shout out to class 2006.
Sure. So you're a young guy.
Oh, yeah. Very young. 28.
I feel old. I'm the class of 2001.
Hey, man, 2001.
Oh, don't get me started. I'm 93 right here.
No, see, but when you guys went, like, the high school... Where'd you go to high school at?
North.
North?
Yep.
I'm from Philadelphia. I didn't go to school around here.
Oh, shit. Well, I'm sure your guys' like, sports and stuff was actually pretty intense.
We did, well, yeah, I wasn't the biggest of athletes, but we did have a pretty good sports program. So, okay, so you grew up, I'm assuming you were a big fan of wrestling.
Oh, yes.
And you must have grown up, like, what, watching the Attitude Era? Where, like, what kind of wrestlers influenced you to want to become a wrestler?
The one and only Shawn Michaels.
The Heartbreak Kid.
The Heartbreak Kid.
Fantastic. See, I'm a Bret Hart guy myself.
Bret Hart. Man, it was kind of like that Duke and North Carolina rivalry.
It was.
I never liked the Bret Hart fans. Just a simple fact, because I'm like Shawn Michaels. I'm all Shawn Michaels. I bleed the colors of the Heartbreak Kid.
Yep.
I was that weirdo that cried the day that he had to retire from the back injury.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
When he lost his smile?
I got a whooping when I was a child because I was bawling my eyes out. My mom's like, "Shut it up, it's fake." And I'm like, "No, like, it's Shawn. He's retiring." So I'm literally just pouring my eyes out. And here she comes in with the door, kicks the door open, grabs the belt. Whack. I got like 3 whacks, and then I really started crying.
Sure. Okay, cool. So you grew up loving wrestling.
Yeah.
And you look like you've probably been into sports your whole life. When did it become zeroed in on pro wrestling?
Let's see. I started when I was 20 here at a local indie show. And,
You want to shout anybody out or not really?
No.
Okay.
It was this company called New Focus Wrestling. They're very well known around here.
We've had those guys in.
I'm sitting there watching the show. A buddy of mine brings me to it, and when I'm watching, I'm like, these guys suck. I'm like, I have better matches with a pillow with what they got going on here. I ain't mean no bash to them.
Right, I understand.
That's just kind of like, wow, this is like your indie wrestling. Like,
Yeah, indie wrestling can be hit or miss.
Sure. And so I guess one of the guys overheard me, and he's like, "Oh, put your money where your mouth is." And I'm like, "Well, I'll probably make more money than you, but that's fine." And then somehow my buddy worked it out to where I showed up to the next training session or whatever, like a month later. As I do that, I'm taking, your typical back bumps, learning the whole basics of wrestling. They actually had 2 other trainees there that's been training for approximately, say, about a year and 6 months, something along those lines. Basically, I bypassed those guys on my first training day.
Like, so you're a natural.
They still had issues. And I don't like using the word natural, just a simple fact, because I don't want to seem like cocky or conceited or anything along those lines.
But you kind of have to be in this business.
Yes, you do. And there's a
certain
right
level,
time and a
right.
wrong time when to show it. Which I do it by the way I work. And I'll get to that about like the tryouts and stuff like that I've had. But I basically do it to the point where now everyone's starting to talk about who's this kid in the ring and how long's he been working. So there was guys like old school guys, Hall of Famers, guys like Tracy Smothers and things like that come out of the back, and now they're watching and they're like, who is this kid? And this kid that just started, man. He was watching the show last month, and I got such a good knack at it to where they're like, kid, you're natural at it, and I'm like, I guess, and it got to the point to where they're like, we want you on our shows, and that's kind of where it went. But as far as the actual knowing this is what I really wanted to do, was probably back in 2008. Now, back in 2008, I was probably about 160 pounds. I was a fairly small guy. This is back when Florida Championship Wrestling was there, down in Tampa.
Right.
This is back when Steve Kern, Norman Smiley, all those guys were running it.
And that was when they were feeding guys to WWE,
yes,
right?
Yes. They had this link to where you could pay $1,000, get looked at by WWE, scouting or management, whatever you want to use the words. But they actually signed people out of there. So I know I didn't have a shot.
Seth Rollins came out of there?
Seth Rollins did. He was actually one of the guest speakers at the time. It was him, Jason Jordan, who now is the tag team champs down in NXT. And then...
That's right.
Let me think of the other guy.
Sheamus came through there.
Absolutely.
It was the feeder system.
The alum down there is just like you look at the alum down in FCW, you'll see this because most of them are at the top now. Roman Reigns was down there. His name was Lakey back then. Ambrose was down there too.
He's the most talked about name on this show, Roman Reigns. Are you pro or anti Roman Reigns?
You know what?
One of us is very strongly pro him. One of us is very strongly anti him.
I can give you two answers, and the reason why is I can look at the business aspects and I can look at the promotional aspects. I like him. Now, does he have 5 moves of doom? Yes, he does. But,
right.
But not everybody's fortunate enough to be able to do backflips and all that type of stuff off the ropes and make things interesting. He's just the right guy at the wrong time, in my personal opinion. I think he's the guy that's... the guy's a babyface. You look at him, you can see him in a magazine, and girls are just, whatever, all over themselves. He has that marketable face,
True, absolutely.
His mic skills need a little bit of work, but these days, who doesn't? Even if you're Cena, there's always room for improvement. If you have that mentality, you shouldn't be in the business. That's the way I've always looked at it. I just truly think if they give him some time, maybe give him a hill run, give people a real reason to hate him, then it will build up that anticipation. It's like, kind of like the whole Bray Wyatt, he's been a heel since he's been there. Now that they've kind of tweeted that baby face, everybody wants to see it. So now they're oozing with it. Because at first they hated Bray Wyatt. Then they loved to hate him. And then it became a passion where they're like, we want to see this guy at the top. So now that baby face push will now get him to where he needs to go. So, like I said, to get back to that question with the Roman Reigns thing, I like him, quite frankly.
Okay. So you were down there with those guys? Is that where things kind of started getting serious?
That's where I first took the first opportunity, and I know I didn't have a shot back then. It was more of experience tactics.
Yeah.
But they critique you at the end, But this is back when Dusty Rhodes as well. Dusty Rhodes was a very good help, which
I've heard phenomenal things about the way he coaches.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He just listening to him talk. Actually, it's just breathtaking in itself. I didn't grow up in that generation. I was kind of like the Attitude Era. That's back when
I was never a Dusty Rhodes guy either.
Sure.
To say the least.
It's like when you hear his theme song, it puts a smile on your face.
Yes, the black and yellow one, for sure.
Yeah. But going back to that, I just think that right there was my eye opener, because that's when they hit me hard with the negative. They're like, you're too small. You have no look. You have no character. Your mic skills are awful, which is fine, because most people would take that and say I quit. But I took that with a grain of salt, and I was just like, okay. And the biggest thing was I need to look like a wrestler. So when I flew back down to Evansville, the first thing I did before I even went home to throw my luggage, in the house, I went straight to a gym and I signed up and I worked out.
Right on.
From there on out in 2008, I worked every single day, all the way up to the point where I'm at now. And I've had minor tryouts here and there. I've had a tryout in Waterloo, Iowa, in front of Jim Ross and Joe Briscoe. Actually, a buddy of mine, Jason Aries, he's a referee with WWE, and that's where he got his big lift off. but he was the only guy that kind of got selected out of that group. Even still then, at that point, I was maybe 190 pounds, things of that nature. But like I said, it really started taking off just here recently to the point where instead of me contacting them, they're contacting me.
So let's talk about this, because this is where the story starts to get pretty awesome.
Sure.
So you're at the Arnold Classic. Is that February?
Yeah, March.
Okay,
yes.
so that's the Arnold Schwarzenegger event.
Yes.
Where is that held?
That was in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was in March, and Triple H is there.
Yeah.
And other people with WWE are scouting for NXT talent.
Absolutely.
They see you.
Yes.
And how does this work? Do they approach you? Do you approach them?
As far as the tryout layout went, they had guys there. Obviously, Triple H was there. They had their creative writer for NXT that was there. Mr. Regal was there.
So much respect.
Oh, God.
So much respect for Regal.
I can listen to that man for hours
Yeah.
just to listen to him talk, which he actually kind of helped me out with the new character that I have for my wrestling gimmick, which I'll get to that later. But, they had guys like him, and they had a couple of the production crew guys there. Of course, the hard camera was on, so I know Vince was watching. And he watches anytime the hard camera's ever on, no matter where you're at, whether it's at an event, a tryout, anything of that nature, everybody's watching. And they for sure let you know that. They're like, when you go out here, don't do anything that you typically wouldn't do because everybody's watching. That hard camera's always
Was
on.
there wrestling at that event?
Yes, there was.
So were you wrestling there?
I was not officially wrestling. I just had my tryout event down there.
Okay. So they like what they saw?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the blow-up drills and everything we did. Now, I had the advantage of actually training myself. I actually have a local ring that I go to here in town that I consistently work on my ring cardio. Because ring cardio and cardio at the gym is two totally different things. So I actually was doing a little bit of the drills just by watching the former videos of last year's.
Yeah.
So I had that one extra hint. I knew what the drills that they were doing with grape squishers, box squats, push-ups, side-by-side drills, jump up, lay down, things of that nature. So I was already kind of preparing myself. I had approximately 3 weeks to prepare. But as we were doing these drills, now we had people all around the world. We had someone in Australia. We had 2 people in Australia. I think there was one, I want to say, in the Europe area. I don't exactly know where. We had people from Texas, Florida, New York, of course, Indiana.
See, this is a huge gathering.
It's pretty big. You had approximately 12 to 15 people there. But I will realistically say, and this is not me being cocky by all means, but I mean, if you would ask anyone around that aspects, and there was probably about 500 fans there, it was a pretty good, decent sized crowd. At a scale of 1 to 10, if I could rate myself, I was approximately probably about a 9.2. I definitely stood out. I mean, for one, my size for the competition was already, it took notice. And then, which is, one of those things that I kind of already thought I had a good attribute in. But as far as the actual drills, there was guys that were like 180 pounds, 190 pounds, 200 pounds. I'm 245 pounds. And I'm moving twice as fast as these guys that weigh twice. So it's one of those things that I stand out. Well, it was one of those drills after I got out, slid out of the ring, standing by the pole. The guy that runs the talent development came and see me and walks up to me and he's like, hey man, I just want to let you know you're doing a hell of a job. People are watching you. Keep up the hard work. Well, as that's happening, I kind of look over at the fans and I see Triple H standing on this elevated platform with a cell phone. And a buddy of mine took a picture of him and I said, so who is he watching? He's like, dude, when you were in the ring, he's like, his phone was always out. I was like, well, what about other people? He said, I didn't see anyone else get videotaped but you. So that right there kind of told me that there was some line of interest along that process. So it went really well, man. I couldn't ask for a better opportunity. If they ever asked me again, if you could take anything back from that tryout to make yourself better, would you? And absolutely not. I could not ask. Nice. I literally left everything out, and I thank God for that because without that, it wouldn't even be possible.
Yes. So is it then that they invite you to the performance
Yes, center? Yes. So then I got another email to where they said that we're going to invite you to another tryout. We don't have a confirmed date yet, but the confirmed date was man, I can't think of it right off the top of my head.
It was later in March?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went down there, and there was like a camp set up down there.
At the Performance Center in Florida?
So with the camp that they have, not necessarily anything was going to come out, and they fully said that, hey, this isn't going to jeopardize or elevate your opportunity. They kind of already know who they want, things of that nature. Kind of like the paid tryouts. People have the paid tryouts that they go to. Well, they obviously have people that they personally invite. to these situations, to these tryouts, and there's tryouts of like 30 individuals there. So, you know, I think it was more important to kind of just to see how the other guys were progressing, because they've had guys that they've probably been after since 2015. I'm just a recent guy that they've been after, and I came in at the late part of 2015.
I've heard the Performance Center is just absolutely amazing. I hear it's beautiful. I hear it's developing talent. You know, what was your impression of the PC?
My closest comparison would be like the Fall Festival. And then like Disney World.
Oh, wow.
It's like that big.
I get the Disney World thing. But how's like the Fall Festival?
What do you mean like?
What is it? Just why do you compare it to the Fall Festival?
Just because of like the oversized, like the mini rings, the production. Like,
Sure.
I mean, you can tell they invested some serious money into this whole aspect, and I mean, just mind blowing. Like you walk in and you're like, holy crap! You know, There's a bunch of rings in there. Everything's brand spanking new. They have separate rooms where they do all their promos and their green screens. They have separate rooms where they have all their fitness gym equipment. I mean, it's just mind blowing. Like when I walked in, I was just I took it all in for a second before I walked through and needed to go.
Approximately, like how many people are in there when you're in there? Because whenever I see pictures of it, it always looks empty or almost empty.
It's so big.
There was a lot at that time because you still had the students that were coming in and out, and then you had all the people that were participating in the event. So, you know, I'd say at the time, I would say it was probably about maybe 40 just throughout the whole entire building.
Okay.
Were you working with some of the name guys that are down there?
No one down there. All it was just like the people that tried out. We were all working with each other, things of that nature.
Sure.
They do a really good job on kind of disting their talent converse to the people that are there for tryouts, depending on who you are. Now, at the Arnold Classic, you know, I'm back there having conversations with Joe, Ballard, I think Bailey was there, Baron Corbin, when she's kind of quiet, kind of off to
It's the
herself.
future of the business right here.
You know, I also had conversations with Apollo. You know, I talked to William Regal.
Is he not fantastic?
Man, I'd say it's Bobby Lashley, number 2.
That's the way I feel too.
Oh, wow.
He's built like he looks very much like
Yes,
Lashley, and
yeah.
he's very smiley, and I feel like that's going to be his detriment.
The only issue, and I'm sure with hard work it'll happen, promo skills. That's the real big concern with. He's got all the athleticism in the
Right.
world. He looks
my
great.
goodness.
He's chiseled. He's got a good build. He's got the $1 million smile. I mean, the guy. There's nothing the guy can't do in the ring.
Yeah.
But in this business, it's all about promos and characters, and that's the two things. He doesn't necessarily have a gimmick. He's just Apollo Crews.
So, what is Micas' gimmick? What is that the name you go by in the ring?
No, actually, it's Micas. It's the Immaculate Micas.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the reborn Immaculate Mike.
This guy's done his homework.
Okay.
I have.
It is the reborn Immaculate Micas. The gimmick before was just Micas Silva. Nothing original. Nothing. I was just a guy. This character of the reborn is really bringing out an inner character. This is someone back in high school, because I was a little weirdo, nerdy guy that played sports, but like wasn't part of the cool kids or
I
whatever.
bet you we were weirder.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I dig in my nose when people are looking. No. But, you know, it's one of those things that I really took time to invest in this character because I was already thinking about ways to stand out. And one of my previous tryouts, the one I had in Iowa years back, Jim Ross was giving me some advice, and he's like, the way you get signed with WWE is you stand out. You know, what separates you from all these other people?
Sure.
If you look like someone else, they're not going to pay attention to you. So, and I've always kept that in the back of my mind. I'd say back in the summer of 2015, I started toying around with gimmicks, what fits me as a person, and for so on. So it was one of those things that, you know, I'm like, well, the Micah Silva thing, it's okay, it's sort of catchy, but I don't think it's enough to where if I actually had an opportunity to perform in front of the WWE, that would be anywhere marketable. You know, to them, it's all about making money. Like
Making those T-shirts.
I've been in the back of Raw and SmackDowns doing shows, and I've ran across Vince and all these other guys, and you know, anytime I ever hear advice from people, it's like, you got to figure out a way to make Vince money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me. You know, so thinking of this character, it is the reborn, and the reborn obviously is to remake of myself. of the Immaculate Micas. Now, most people know what Immaculate means, but for some that don't, it means like clean, like perfection, something of that nature. So my gimmick is a mixture of a bunch of different combinations. You know, you have Gorgeous George, you have Ravishing Rick Rude, you have Mr. Perfect, you have a little bit of Tyler Breeze, you have a little bit of Muhammad Ali, you have a little bit of Floyd Mayweather.
These are all heel characters.
These are all characters that I put in this one mold, and the whole thing is you know, it's all about making things immaculate again. That's my saying. That's my slogan. You know, it's kind of like with the Attitude Era. It's time to make things closer back to the Attitude Era. Because every once in a while, you notice you start tweaking back toward that whole Attitude Era. Mm-hmm. So it's all about bringing clean to the wrestling business. So when I come out, I'm immaculate. My gear's fresh. I got a fresh, clean cut. My women are immaculate. My cars are immaculate. My sin is immaculate.
I should be your opponent. I am the opposite of immaculate. That's everything you're saying. It's like I am completely diametrically opposed to you. Car's filthy.
Dude,
my hair's filthy.
That would be good though. No, I could so eat that up because like my manager, I would have him spray me down with my Immaculate juice, which is all water and just covered up in a bottle with Immaculate juice written over it. But that's a whole other aspect. I'm working on an endorsement deal for that.
Okay, right on.
So what he does is when I walk out of the ring, you know, when I walk out of the back, you know, I'm plotting, I'm doing all my deal, and all he's doing, he's spraying the air. He's spraying the air in front of me. Everything needs to be immaculate when I walk to the ring.
So even your air is clean.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So he sprays me down. He sprays the ropes down. He sprays the canvas down.
Perfect.
I get in the ring. You know, I take a good second. I even make the referee and my opponent spray themselves down in order for me to work in this ring. So that's where the character would be perfect because you refuse to do it, which makes me even more frustrated. So your whole job is just to get your hands on me, which is entertainment for the fans.
Sure.
Now we can work this angle for a good while. Finally, you get your hands on me, I flip out. I mean, I just lose it. Finally, when I get my heat back down on you, then I call my manager up. I grab a bottle, I'm beating you down, I'm spraying you down, I'm spraying the referee down, I'm re-spraying myself down. Everything is immaculate. My drop kicks are immaculate. My fluid motion in the ring is immaculate. My holds are immaculate. Everything I do in life is immaculate.
So where do we go from here? And where can we see this character? Are you working with anybody specific?
Yes,
He's got a show coming up on May 1st, don't
This guy, I need your autograph. This guy is good. May 1st at the Holiday Inn. The group is called Outcast Wrestling Syndicate. It's actually, I want to say their first show here in Evansville. It will actually be at the Holiday Inn, which is kind of different because most indie shows are done in a basketball gym or something of that nature. So this one actually has like a good build procedure. And this is actually the debut of the reborn of the Immaculate Micas. Nice. I've been advertising like crazy. By the way, I have an Immaculate Micas Facebook fan page, so you guys need to go in there and like that. You know, and I actually just got shirts now that has a picture of me doing this pose. It's a shadow. And then across the chest, it says the Immaculate Micas. On the back of the shirt, it says time to make things immaculate again. Man, I mean, it's mind-blowing when I started this shirt. It was all about just getting my name out there, getting this character out there, building an interest to make people really want to come see this guy.
Sure.
To the point where we sold so many shirts to now where the company is actually paying us to sell my shirts. Oh, and wow. the extra money that we make from these shirts, I'm actually going to choose some sort of charitable foundation and take the money and put it in there because I don't need it. Like I feel like my pain alone is seeing someone wear my shirt. I think that is the most awesome thing I could ever ask for. So the money, yeah, it's icing on the cake, but it's why can I turn this into another positive and give it to someone else that actually really needs it?
This is awesome. Listen, let me tell you a few things. Number one, I love where your career is heading. I think you've got a very good future going on. Is WWE the ultimate goal?
Oh, absolutely. It's been my ultimate goal since I was 3 years old. I was that kid in kindergarten and in first grade when they asked what you want to be when you grow up. You know, you had most of your people that say, "Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a cop. I want to be a firefighter." I was the one kid that said I want to be back then it was WWF, a WWE superstar. I want to be the guy that headlines WrestleMania, that has the opportunity to do something great in this business. And you know, I've carried that all the way up even until then. Even when I was in high school and I was really good at basketball, I still always had WWE was always my number one ultimate dream.
Who's your dream opponent? Who do you see facing at WrestleMania?
Man, that's actually a really good question. You know what? If I could get Seth Rollins, you know,
I'm so ready for him to come back.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So ready.
He's ready. They just storyline he's not, but he's ready. He's definitely ready. I've seen it. He's ready.
Nice.
You know, if I can get him, obviously, if I could date back. You know, obviously I'd say, The Rock or Shawn Michaels, but I know that's not realistic matters.
Yeah.
If I can get like Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, a Dolph Ziggler, anyone that has a true athleticism that can push me to my limits, because there's limits that I know that I can do, but it's one of those things you have to have someone that can even bring you to that level.
Yeah.
I like the Apollo Crews thing. When I first saw Apollo Crews, I was actually kind of irritated and frustrated because everything that this guy does in the ring, I've been doing that. I've actually been doing the backflips and the springboards.
You can pull those off?
I can do all those. I as a 245-pound guy, and it's very hard as a big guy to be able to consistently do that agile type of workouts. Well, the thing is that I've been naturally a little guy all the way up until I started lifting, but I kept playing sports. I kept myself athletic, so I didn't let the weight carry me down. So I still do springboards, backflips, off the top ropes, 450 splash, you know, swamp, anything you can consist of flipping off the ropes. I can pretty much do it all. So it's like when I saw him in NXT doing this, I'm like, see, if you guys would have signed me, you know, 5 years ago, that I would have been the new thing, you know, which is cool, you know, good for him. I'm so happy for anybody that's a part of the World Wrestling Entertainment. I'm so happy for them. You know, I would never, ever want anyone to ever get fired from there or ever want to push anyone to the side. But I also know that the second I get that opportunity, I'm going to walk in, and this is back to what you said. You have to be cocky to an extent. I'm not going to say it vocally, and it's the same thing that happened at the Arnold Classic tryout. When I walked in, I just gave everyone a look, and it's just a very stern look, and it's like, you know that this guy has some sort of prestige about him. I don't know what it is, but we need to figure it out. And I gave them that look, and what that look said is, you guys need to figure out who's coming in second, because I'm going to have this on lockdown.
Exactly.
A few quick questions before we wrap things
Sure.
up. Greatest match of all time, in your opinion?
That's so unfair, man. I have two.
All right, you can say two.
Okay. All right. Well, my first one, of course, was Taker and Shawn. The first one.
Okay.
As a wrestler, watching that match, I was even on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
When I thought the finish was a finish, it was a false finish. You know,
So many of them.
And actually, if you really think about it, they're the first to really revolutionize where you hit your finisher 3 or 4 times to actually knock the guy down where you get the 1, 2, 3. Because if you date back a lot of matches before then, they maybe had 1 or 2 where they hit their finish twice. This time you got to think they hit it 3 or 4 times. So now you see on pay-per-views, everybody's kicking out of the other opponent's finishing move at least several times. So I think they were the ones that first revolutionized that. So that match alone was just mind-blowing, which, you know, of course led up to him getting retired, and I was sad. But I didn't cry, though.
And what's the second one?
Second one, man, it just happened. This match is just absolutely breathtaking. I still watch it till this day because I study NXT very hard because I want to study what my competition is. I want to study what my competition is. I want to see what everyone else is doing that I'm not doing. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura. If you guys have not watched that match,
we've both seen it.
Oh my God! Like the feel, like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Like, I didn't know who Shinsuke Nakamura was before he came there. I heard about this guy in Japan that's supposed to be the best in the world. Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, these guys are like, hey, this guy's the best in the world. Like, no one knows who he is. So when he came, I'm watching him, like, this guy's very charisma. Like, he's got a lot of charisma. And, you know, he comes out and he's doing his deal, and he gets in the ring, and, I mean, he does his deal where he grabs the ropes and he goes down, and, I mean, the crowd went nuts. And I'm like, okay, this guy's already got me to know what he can do. And I'm like, what is strong style? Even as a worker, I necessarily didn't know what strong style. I see people wear strong style shirts in the back all the time. But, you know, when I actually knew what strong style was then, I'm like, okay, I just thought that meant like you were a stiff worker. You know, you're a little bit more stiffer than usual. It's what I thought strong style was. but it's all a combination of like knee strikes and innovative ways about throwing strikes, in your moveset. And, with Shinsuke Nakamura, he was a former MMA guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of the moves and stuff that he does, like you look and you're just like, I don't see that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just the match alone, before they even locked and touched, I mean, the crowd, they already had the crowd.
Yeah.
The spots that they did, I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
See, I love the spots that they did. My only critique of the match, I didn't like the long rest periods between the spots. It felt really disjointed to me.
Sure, kind of like where they were piecing things together.
And I know that's kind of the Japanese style, kind of that strong style.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have taken those parts out and it would have been just one consecutive thing, organic like that, I would have said 5-star classic all the way.
Yeah.
Best place in Evansville to grab a burger.
It used to be Fast Eddie's.
Right. All right.
No, best place to grab a burger.
Best place to sit down and eat.
Oh, man. I'm expensive, man. I always go to Zuki's.
Zuki? All right.
But if I would have, let's say if I wanted to be cheap and, wanted to go somewhere, I'd probably go to like Fridays or maybe Cheddar's.
Sure,
The
okay.
best burger, it's got to be like probably Five Guys.
They make a good burger for sure. All right, Steve, you got anything you want to ask Micas before we wrap things up?
What's your go-to workout song right now?
Britney Spears, no. Go-to workout song.
I know you got that Rihanna and Drake. I know you work.
But basically, I actually listen to wrestling theme songs.
Cool.
My motivation when I work out is I want to listen to everyone. For some reason, listening to wrestling music actually hypes me up. When I'm in the
Dude,
car,
I'm the same way.
I listen to wrestling.
Wrestling
songs.
fans are like that.
Absolutely,
We're all the same.
My vision is to, and this goes back always to WrestleMania, because everyone's like, when are you going to go to WrestleMania? I'm going to go to my first WrestleMania when I'm a part of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
When I go, my dream, people go, what's your dream in wrestling? My dream, obviously, not only to headline WrestleMania, but it's to actually work at the Ford Center and do a show in front of my hometown. Because I realistically think, with a good build-up, I feel like I could actually sell out the arena. I really do. I have that mindset. If people was like, this guy's from Evansville, this guy's this big upcoming star, we have to see this guy. We got to support him. I feel like I can realistically get the upper seating, which WWE has not been able to exceed that yet since that building's been open.
True.
I feel like I can bring that to them. But kind of getting off the subject, if I can say my go-to song would probably be I love listening to the Shield Special Ops theme song.
Okay.
It just has a certain theme.
Roman
to
still
it.
uses that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got like a different version, but it's still the same song. But back then when they used to come out the crowd and things like that, I used to just get so hyped when they came out. Even even as when you have another wrestler actually like, holy crap, I'm ready to see this guy, like, then you know you're that good.
Yeah.
So like when I listen to their theme song, I don't like set it on a repeat or anything, but on my go-to list of music, that's always the first song that plays. It's always the first song that plays.
Dude, I could talk to you all day. I'm afraid we're going to run out of space here on the recorder. Let me just say thank you for coming in.
No, thanks for having me.
And let's have you in again sometime.
Yeah.
If you ever have like something big coming up, we'd love to help you out with that. And good luck with everything, man.
Sure,
You're on fire.
I appreciate you guys having me. No, thank you.
Evansville native Micas Harris, the Immaculate. Micas. I apologize. Let me try that again smoothly. The Immaculate Micas. You can catch him at the Holiday Inn on the 1st of May. And it's going to be an awesome time. Micas, thank you so much for coming in, bud. We'll see you again in the future. From myself, the Rob, my tag team partner, Steve.
And now you've been immaculated.
Woo! This guy's good.